assalamu alaikum, good morning, khushamdi, jiayanu, goeiemorgen.
Bekhair Agale, Ni Hao, Chudashume, Washmale, Ohio Gonzaimes, Guten Morgen, Hola, Bonjour, Privyet, Kaifa Hal, Hale Shama Chatore, Ahlan Wasalan Marhaba, Kaifa Haluka, Buna, Mucho, Gracias, and a very amazing good morning to everybody who's tuned into PTV World and are watching World this morning alongside the very amazing, the very talented, the very fabulous Shiza Hashmi and Shahzad Khan. Hello Shiza, how are you today?
I am great, how are you?
Well, I'm doing great. I think I'm coping up with life, and I think that's how everybody needs to be as well. Because there are a few things which work for me in life. Those are, for example, if I read a good hadith which I can relate with.
Yeah.
That okay, a part of me tried to do that too as well. A part of me tried to be a good human being, and a part of me is kind.
Yeah.
I think I'm very relaxed about life. That okay, things are going to be in my favor if Allah Ji is watching upon us.
Exactly.
What about you?
What about me? Well, I do, I always start my day with a coffee. So I did have 2 cups of coffee already.
Today?
And I don't actually feel that much energetic, but I think we have to like move into the show to actually get all the information out. So maybe we can have a good kickstart.
Exactly. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to rise and shine, wake and bake, get up and be more motivated and dedicated towards whatever you want to achieve in life. But first things first, we definitely, we think of a public service message. So today, me and Shiza, while we were sitting and while we were discussing, was like, Shiza, do you have a public service message? And she was like, yeah. Or why can't you do that? So I was like, okay. So it's my responsibility today. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think my public service message is going to be in line with what we'll be discussing in the first segment of the show. And that is that I've suffered through it myself, and it's because of the fact that it was my negligence. It was, I think, nobody knew that this is how actually it needs to be. And what I'm talking about is that over here within Pakistan, we do not have this trend of going and getting ourselves checked up just randomly. For example, once in a year or twice in a year, what we need to do is that we need to go to our family physician and just tell him to run all the tests just to see, because a stitch in time saves 9 as well. I think this is one very amazing example, and this is something which I suffered from myself, and from that day onwards, I wasn't able to get like 100% cure, but at the same time now after every 15 or 20 days I have to go for my blood test as well. Now this is one example, and I think people can learn from it, because I don't want anybody to fall sick or to fall ill or unfortunately there are those times as well where when people get the news and they get a shock and then they go into denial, and unfortunately a lot of people have actually lost their lives just because of the fact that they never went to the doctor.
And it's because of Shahzad actually. Just probably last week, a few days back, he asked me to get my blood tested as well.
Yeah.
And I did actually a lot of tests and they were all clear.
Wow, that's
so yes, there should be, a regular checkup.
And-
Probably every 15 days?
Yeah, after every 15 days, 20 days. I mean, my problem is different, so I have to get it checked
Yeah,
after
yeah,
15
of
days.
course.
But there's one more interesting fact which I wanted to share, and there was this story on another local news channel, and they said that Google and YouTube, whatever we ask, because a lot of times, the best solution is ask Google or ask YouTube or probably look for videos. So 77% of the videos related to heart surgeries or heart problems or other diseases within the human body are incorrect, and this is a report by Google and YouTube themselves as well, because they put in their research. So now imagine for all those people who might have applied those techniques, which now they're saying that they aren't really correct. I think that we probably need to go to our doctor to get it checked out.
Exactly. And since we're talking about, the very basic diseases, you've mentioned heart diseases. Every other person in my family as well, in yours as well, I'm pretty sure in Pakistan, is having, blood pressure issues, is having probably cardiac issues, or is obese, and, the cholesterol level is high and everything. And when you tell them to, take control of the diet that they're intaking and to improve the lifestyle that they're living, they are offended by it.
No, they're not offended.
Most of the time they are. This is like a true example of me actually talking to people and them being offended, like, who are you to tell me?
No, but the exact reaction is, kuch nahi hota, kuch
like
nahi
not
hota.
a big deal.
Yeah. So please, so
It
today,
is a big deal.
Yeah. So today, ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by somebody. Now over here in Pakistan, there's this different practice by doctors as well. You go to them. I mean, you just start telling them how you feel, and then all of a sudden they come up with the idea, oh, you need surgery. And then the man's like, oh my God, I don't want to touch myself, from the inner. It's like probably getting a 0-meter brand new car, and then what happens is that you actually have to change like a few parts of the body, and then
And you're not sure if it's going to work well or
no,
not.
no, it's not even like that. When you go for the resale, people are like, oh, you've changed the parts, you're not going to get the same amount. Same is the case with our human body as well. We do not want our parts to change, but if it's necessary, I think to improve the quality of life, I think we should always get it done. But there are people who actually, first of all, they want that there shouldn't be any surgery, but then if it's necessary, that's when they recommend it. And I think that we're very lucky that we have actually been joined by somebody of that sort as well. He's served in the United States of America for more than 35 years. He's an interventional cardiologist. He's none other than Dr. Amjad Bhatt. Hello, sir. Assalamu alaikum. How are you? Thank you very much. It's always lovely to listen to somebody who's got vocals as deep as mine too as well. So thank you very much for joining us. Now let's get started. So first things first, how's the practice over there in USA and how's the practice over in Pakistan since you just came back recently?
I think in a nutshell, if I tell you that accountability is the key factor to differentiate two modes on extreme ends. Here you can get away with things, there you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably, and also availability of resources. Yeah. Resources are more, technologies there. I don't think there's a lack of talent here in Pakistan. People, know their subject. The application of that subject is the key. You just alluded to something. I think we have to lighten up the idea of cure.
Yeah.
In disease process, what we strive for is how we can either stop the progression or we can slow the progression, or maybe of some percentage we can regress that pathology, that process. For example, coronary disease, which is my subject. We always look for how we can stop this progression of disease going into the next phase. Blood pressure is the same, heart failure is the same thing. Or we can, in 5 to 10%, we can regress, by a tight control of your cholesterol and diet and lifestyle. Lifestyle modification is the key. But the question you just asked, what's the difference, is have you evaluated the style of practice here? I think you just mentioned that people have stopwatches with them when they see the patient.
Yeah.
How you can shake hand?
I'm a witness to that as well.
You can't even shake hand, let alone writing a prescription after diagnosis in 2-3 minutes. Unless you have a genie. You just rub the lamp, comes out, gives you the diagnosis. No, truthfully, for the last 4 months, I'm here in Pakistan, that's what I have observed. And I'm working in one of the biggest hospitals, QIH, and to my surprise, I have performed, for example, I gave you an hypertension. You never treat patient. Actually, the right word is to manage patient. I don't use the word treatment. I always say to manage patient, because manage means to encompass entire patient, because patient is your open book. Read your patient.
But I think, using the word manage actually takes the patient into another direction, as if I might not be able to get a cure for the rest of my life. So yeah, I think that's a challenge over here.
When you manage, treatment is you give a prescription, go home.
Okay.
To manage, because you have to evaluate the patient's socioeconomic, psychological profile, surroundings, because you can't treat out of context of all these, the factors.
Exactly.
Like when we evaluate a patient, we evaluate patient based on the risk factors.
Yeah.
And then you conform and you simulate those risk factors into his current problems and symptoms. Then you evaluate and get your findings. That's how you simulate your diagnosis.
Oh, that's great.
Also, let's talk about the risk factors related to the coronary diseases.
Yeah.
I want you to enlighten us. I mean, they're called the deadly quartet. So basically, they're probably accumulation of 4 major risk factors, but I'm not very sure. Please go ahead.
Yeah.
Because you're not a cardiologist.
This is a term, deadly quartet. Quartet means 4. Deadly, of course, English word deadly. Because when you see a patient, you cannot see and evaluate the patient without risk factors.
Okay.
Right.
Because risk factor is the key component of that patient's pathology.
What are those risk factors?
Risk factor, for example, high blood pressure. A person, 40-plus-year-old man, comes to me. Do you have a high blood pressure? Do you have diabetes? you see the patient is obese, because obesity is #1 risk factor for coronary disease now.
Okay.
And then you see what is your cholesterol level. Before we get into on cholesterol, if you look at, if you have cholesterol done, you just was telling me that you have just full evaluation. Look at that, your values, lab values. They'll give you only a couple of total cholesterol, total triglycerides, HDL, LDL, and VLDL. They're forgetting the dangerous component of that profile, which is the size of the particle, which is more atherogenic. And we never get that.
Okay.
Back in States, you asked me what's the difference. Back in States, we get a full profile, because that is the dangerous part, the atherogenic part, which is causing the problem, which is sticking in there. And all what we go for is total cholesterol. And I tell you, if you have a coronary disease or you have a diabetes, one of those risk factors we were just talking about, I will still treat you, even your cholesterol is normal, with statins, the cholesterol medicines.
Yeah.
Because of their anti-inflammatory, anti-platelet, anti-fibrinogen, those are the components and the factors which are participant to create that pathology, which could be deadly, the deadly quartet, part of. So we, the approach to the patient needs to be out of the box. You can't see patient just into the box. You have to work around the box.
Exactly.
That's why I said you manage the patient. You never treat the patient.
Okay, I tend to agree to that too as well, because I
So
think.
yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, because I think that over here, ladies and gentlemen, what we're trying to convey is that for all those people who might probably have these risks of getting these factors involved in their lives, I think it's about time that you go to the doctor and get yourself managed. But now what I wanted to move on was that, people over here, so now everybody's bought these very special, amazing electric devices. You put them on your wrist, they tell you your heart rate, they tell you your blood pressure and whatnot. But now blood pressure is a very serious problem over here in Pakistan. Almost every second or third person
All
is
over the
actually,
world.
Yeah, all over the world they've got it. Now, what are the right figures, for example? Because half of the time when we get it checked, so for example, if my blood pressure was 128 by 78 or 88, so my father's like, your lower one's like in the upper safety parameter. And then I'm like, I think that this is fine, because people say it needs to be 120 by 70, so 10 figures up and down. Does it matter?
And is
Yes.
it okay for it to be different for different people?
Yes, of course, that's a very good question. Before we jump into the numbers, let me clarify one thing. Just don't go and read the numbers.
Okay.
You can't read the numbers without the context of the patient itself.
Okay.
For example, if your blood pressure is 90, which I hear all the time, even back in States, the nurse says, Doc, the pressure is 90. Is patient laughing, smiling, walking, talking, peeing? No problem.
Yeah.
Because that's what the body needs. That's why he's mentally okay, clear, he's urinating fine, he's talking to you. On the other hand, if the same person is falling everywhere with a 90, that blood pressure is not good for you.
Right,
Okay.
right.
We go, we have guidelines. And the guidelines are based on the research as well as expert opinions. Most of the guidelines will come through the expert opinions.
Yeah.
So you in your field is expert too.
Yeah.
So why you cannot create your own guidelines in conformity of those guidelines which have been established and published? So if you look at the guidelines, except few studies, JATOS 1, violation, all those, 140 over 80, the goal. Actually, in my clinic, I say 115 to 120, which is ideal blood pressure.
Yeah.
Why you don't want to strive for the ideal blood pressure rather than to go just a normal blood pressure?
Yeah.
Because that normal blood pressure may not be normal for you or for her, and for elderly.
And then how does it vary though?
What is the blood pressure basically? The blood pressure by definition is a lateral force on the vascular wall. When if you look at Bernoulli's equation and Laplace law and all those, when the blood is flowing through, it's creating force because with the speed it's created. So when we age, the elasticity in the blood vessels decreases.
Yeah.
It's like an old rubber.
Okay.
What
So
happens?
it gets hardened.
Hardened, exactly. Same thing. So if you cannot have a rebounds, you cannot have a reaction to that force which flowing fluid was exerting on the wall, the blood pressure will be different.
Okay.
So in elderly, that's why we strive for different blood pressure. But again, as I said, don't take the numbers out of context of the clinical scenario, what the patient is presenting you.
Okay.
Did I say that? You manage the patient because patient is your open book.
I agree to that.
Try to read the patient.
Yeah.
Right.
I always tell all the juniors, the people in training, try to read the patient. That's the only book you have.
Exactly.
Nobody else can explain you better than your patient. But if you don't have that intuitiveness to go into, I'll give you a recent example.
Sure.
We have a patient, young man came. It's about 3 o'clock. By the way, I live in hospital.
You live in the hospital?
You bet.
Okay.
The reason, my family is back in States, so, but the reason was I wanted to be available 24/7. And to your surprise, I gave my personal number to all my patients.
Wow.
And I instruct them to call me back in home and this home.
And all of them are men?
Yes. Doesn't matter.
On a
now.
lighter note, your heart feels great.
Doesn't matter. I still have a ticking heart, but doesn't matter
Yeah.
anymore at this stage. I have seen it all.
Alhamdulillah.
No, I don't know. Anyway, so
Yeah, please go on.
I came back. Basically, my idea was that I can provide 24/7 service. That's the reason I'm here. So they called me that it's organophosphate suicidal attempt.
Okay.
A young man who's getting married a week, 2 weeks later. So I woke up 2 o'clock in the morning, opened my laptop, and read. I'm a cardiologist. I'm not a poison specialist anyway. But I wanted to make sure I know what I'm going down for because he has a high heart rate as well. So I went down, and what I saw, I thought the man is already gone. But anyway, next morning he woke up. But the point I wanted to make is, unless you find out, unless you read that patient, reading that patient means extracting whatever you can
Yeah.
from him, if not from him or her, then from the family. So I called the family, and it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and tried to get some information, what happened, because I still cannot place
Yeah.
what happened. Ultimately, I found out that this man usually comes with his brothers. He's in business with the brothers. But this day, he came on his own bike.
Okay.
I could not stitch that period. Okay, what happened?
What happened,
I
yeah.
said something happened in that period. My thought was, back in States, you have a bachelor party before wedding.
Yeah.
Today is the last day, do whatever you want
Yeah.
because she's coming and no more. I thought and then the thought process started, he must have some drugs or something. Still couldn't find. To make story short, I did not rest until I find out what happened. And that was when he was fine, before discharge. I called that day, then I called psychiatrist. Because another concept, if you call psychiatrist or you tell patient you need a psychiatrist, they think, oh, doc think I'm crazy. I said, no, it's not that you're crazy, because that man is going to reattempt, and next time he will not be that lucky.
Exactly.
It's going to be successful. You have a 20-year-old man, you have a 19, 18, 20-year-old girl sitting there. 2 families will be destroyed with this. Then ultimately I found out what the problem was. Very small, issue. He just got emotional. So the point I want to make, unless you dig into, unless you talk to the patient, unless you talk to the family, how you can ultimately realize what the problem is. So by digging into the history, by digging into the information, I got to the point which, in my opinion, was the triggering event.
Exactly.
Psychiatrist saw him. Alhamdulillah, he went, okay.
So he's fine now.
and fine.
He got married.
I don't know. He was supposed to invite me, but he did not. So.
It's all right.
No, but thank you for bringing that up. I think at this point in time, we should be discussing depression and anxiety, how that's common among every single person lately, be it a teenager, a grown-up man, women, whatever. what does that do to your body inside? I mean, we do see people, losing their weight and, being all weak about it, but what does it do to the inside?
I've even seen people getting panic attacks as well and landing in the hospital and just,
Yes.
begging for life. And the doctors, they keep on telling them, you'll be fine, everything's fine. But it seems like as if it's out of their control. So they
Yeah.
cannot control their own heart. So what happens?
Just remember one thing, that this is all chemicals in our body.
Okay.
Their action and reactions are coming back to you. People can kill themselves.
Right.
So
right.
that's what's going on in your body. There's nothing beyond your death.
Yeah.
So that's the ultimate finality of what they can do to their body. Otherwise, this is not uncommon to see how they are intertwined with each other. The sickness, social factors,
Right.
environmental factors, political factors, economic factors,
Yeah.
all take toll on our body. If you don't keep that diagnosis, that factor of your personality, the patient comes chest pain, for example, you have to evaluate, coming back to the basics, you have to listen to the patient and you have to evaluate the patient to reach to a conclusion rather than running $1 million workup.
Yeah.
Because we can't afford that. We are in Pakistan. Even states, America is breaking.
Yeah.
Their health system is breaking. They cannot afford how we can afford. That's the reason I tell kids, bedside medicine still prevails. In our society, you have to hone on your skills on bedside medicine. And I give you, before I give you the answer, small example. Peripheral disease is a very common. Imagine losing your limb.
Yeah.
Imagine living with a limb, no more there. And it can be treated, it can be diagnosed if a physician take 2 minutes using hands and eyes, nothing else, no technology.
Right.
You have the experience, tell me how many doctors have asked you to take off your shoes? Zero.
None?
None.
Yeah.
In my clinic, everybody has to take off their shoes. Because even statistics, if you look at in America, 50% of the patients never have this simplest test until they have a diabetic wound, a wound which is not healing. And next thing you see, doc has told you, let me amputate your limb. Imagine living with that.
Yeah, it's
Cannot
crazy.
So
imagine at
if
all.
you don't have that intuitiveness, if you're not looking out of the box, and that is my mission since the time I landed here, to educate the masses.
Great.
Right.
Just don't go like a robot and sitting there because a doctor sahab has a nice haircut and have a necktie, and you just don't dare to speak. Questions, you don't have to be disrespectful. You don't have to fight. You don't have to be argumentative. But you have the privilege, if not the right,
To ask the
to
question.
talk,
Yeah,
to
definitely.
question.
Exactly. And I think it's the same as if, for example, you go to a restaurant, you pay them for food, and they serve you with food. That's what you're paying your doctor for. You ask questions very nicely. I mean, there are different modes of asking questions as well. Things can go wrong, but it shouldn't be a blunder, as Dr.
But
said.
Shahzad,
as well.
if I may
Sure.
correct you, you can't pay for your life.
Obviously, you cannot. Obviously, you cannot.
So this is a total different notion. Patient-doctor relationship is a very, very sacred. And trust me, back in States, I talk on the terms of, from the Bible.
Yeah.
All my patients, we talk from Bible, how sacred this relationship should be, what the importance of that patient is, what's the importance of this rapport, what we call between doctor and patient. If you don't develop here, I have not seen that.
So it's basically about winning trust. I think that's what it is. But thank you very much, Dr. Saab, for being with us. It was lovely to be in conversation with you. And I think that the advices you've shared, I think people have taken them. And Quaid-e-Azam International Hospital, that's where Dr. Saab is living these days as well. So if you have any problems, I think you can probably go to him as well, or probably write to us on our Facebook pages, which we're going to definitely let you know about towards the end of the show. But right now, we're going towards a short break. But since we were talking about heart, so I think there's one thing which can always give you a good vibe, and that is listen to some good music. I think this is what works for me. So music therapy, this is what we're going to give you in the next segment. Let's do it. Good morning.
Stay tuned.
passion for polo will be the highest on the world's highest polo ground. Chandur invites visitors to experience a traditional polo tournament between the teams of Chitral and Gilgit. The tournament is held on Chandur Pass, the highest polo ground in the world, at 3,700 meters above sea level. The first time a polo tournament took place on the Chandur Pass was in 1936. It is a place unique and exotic in itself, surrounded by some of the most spectacular mountain scenery in the world. The event marks the annual rivalry between the teams of Chitral and Gilgit. The polo tournament has some added attractions for the visitors: trout fishing at the nearby streams and lakes, and a festival of folk dances and music of northern Pakistan. The event in itself offers a fascinating insight into the lifestyle of the people of this region. Their culture and indigenous customs are a delight to behold for the visitors. Crystal clear lakes, snow-covered mountains, alpine flowers, and vast stretches of green grass are added attractions. Fairs and festivals of Pakistan.
Wow, that was fabulous. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're definitely tuning to PT Water Watching World this morning alongside Shiza Hashmi and Shazad Khan.
And this is what we're talking about right now. This beautiful, beautiful music that you played by flute. We're talking about music, how that lifts your mood, and also how important is it to learn music as a part of your school curriculum.
Exactly. But at the same time, Shiza, I just wanted to ask you, do you know which song it was?
Yes, I know.
Which
This
one?
is Sun Vanjali Di Mitri Taan.
Sun Vanjale di Mitri Taanve.
Yes.
Wow. I don't know whether that's the correct pronunciation or not,
It
but
is,
it was
right?
great. And I think flute is one of those instruments which I love the most as well. But right now, ladies and gentlemen, we've joined by some amazing kids over here within the studios. One of them actually plays 3 instruments, which belongs to the same family. The other kid is so intelligent, she's actually won an essay award, an essay competition. She won a silver
And we'll let
medal.
you-
Yes,
yeah.
silver medal as well. And then she writes poems as well. And then she's a great composer, I guess. So we're going to talk to them and how they actually got into the music scene. Because there was a time in my life
Yeah.
when I wanted to do music, but then my parents told me to do something worthwhile, and I became an anchor person. But I still do music too as well.
Yes,
So
and we
I-
are actually waiting for your video.
yeah,
Shahzad.
it's going to be out soon too
Inshallah.
as well, and it's alongside one of the very amazing singers of Pakistan as well, who won
Wow.
the Best Singer award last year too
Wow,
as well.
mashallah.
So on my right hand side, ladies and gentlemen, we have been joined by Sayyid Talha Waqar. Hello, assalamu alaikum. How are
Walaikum
you?
assalam. I'm fine. I'm wonderful. How are you guys?
Absolutely great. Thank you very much for joining us alongside Sayyid Talha Waqar. Okay, I think Talha is going to do that. So Talha, you're going to introduce your sister now, okay? Say the best words. Go ahead. Look into the
This
camera.
is Maheen Wakar. She is my younger sister and probably the only person I can fully annoy.
Okay, hello Maheen. How are you? Assalamu
I'm
alaikum.
good. I'm doing wonderful. I'm doing amazing. How are you?
Absolutely perfect. Thank you very much for joining us. Alongside Miss Maheen, we have been joined by Sir Samson Shahzad, who's a music teacher in the school as well. Hello, assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Assalamu alaikum, sir. I'm
Walaikum
fine.
assalam, and thank you very much for joining us. And that was a great piece which you played for all of us.
It's my pleasure, sir.
But let me get started with Maheen over here. So Maheen,
Yes.
I want you to tell all my viewers out there that which essay competition you won, how you won it, and what did you write. I think the topic was life, something?
No, it was the topic was I am the future. I gave
Yeah.
an essay on for the Queen's Commonwealth
Wow.
competition, and I won a silver medal internationally.
Wow.
So-
Congratulations
I never
on that.
knew that
That's
you
Thank
could
you.
win a silver
Thank you.
medal just by writing an essay.
Wow.
That's
Well,
great.
I mean,
So what did you
there's
write
a lot
in it?
of
I mean,
ways
what?
to express. I am the future. It was basically how this generation is. The future depends on
I
this
mean, the
generation.
same generation,
Yes.
right? Me and you belong to.
Well, there is a slight gap.
Okay, yeah, it's happening.
But yeah, the youth of today plays a huge role in shaping our future, our tomorrow. So that's what the essay was basically about.
What's their role? I mean, you know, for example, if it's going to come from you, I think that people will be able to understand. So we do say, you know, we need to do this, we need to do that and that. But I don't know what is that. Okay, so
what was
tell us.
What was your perception of it? Your idea of the future?
My idea of the future was opening our minds to all of the possibilities that this world has to offer. Because when you see when you see our older generations, our ancestors, they didn't exactly have the widest scope.
Right.
If I put it that way. So what we can do, what we children can do is how we have talent in every single aspect. We should use that, we should utilize that, and we should explore every opportunity this
Yeah.
world has to offer.
Great. And you're saying that, you know, we should be open to every other possibility. And
Yeah.
imagine your brother was open to a possibility where he actually fractured his wrist.
Yes,
So,
yes.
yeah, so I think that the possibilities need to be in a very positive manner as well. But other than that, it is a very unfortunate incident, obviously, and which makes you take a break
Yeah.
for playing all of those 3 instruments which you used to play. But first things first, how did you get into it? How did your parents allow you to play music, write poems, and whatnot?
Well,
Not many
ever
parents
s-
do that.
Yeah. Ever since I was a kid, I always used to like singing. I used to put on tracks, and I used to sing. I used to enjoy. It was one of my favorite pastimes.
Yeah.
And one day I get the idea that I want to be a musician. And as usual, my parents are like, study.
Okay.
So
And-
what are the 3 instruments that
Well,
you
I play the ukulele, I play the
I
guitar,
don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
and the bass.
It's like a smaller version of the guitar. I think
Yeah,
that's the right thing to
it has
make you
4
understand.
strings.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And all 3 instruments are a member of the same string family.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I actually started, I was at a summer camp in Germany, and I went to a music shop for fun. I was going to go buy some Nirvana CDs.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Are
I
you a
saw...
Nirvana fan?
I am
Wow.
a Nirvana fan.
Okay, come on. Yeah, that's good. Okay,
Yes.
moving on.
Anyways, I saw ukulele, and I was like, I need that. I need it. And I brought it.
Love at
Yeah,
first
yeah,
sight.
that's that, yeah.
Yeah, it was one of those love at first sight moments with the instrument. It's
Yeah.
like my first ever instrument.
Wow.
That's good.
So you've been playing ever since?
I've been playing for about 2 years now. Yeah,
And have you been also performing at events, like probably
yeah
school events? or
I
things?
have. I have. Actually, I had a school event last week. I couldn't play any instruments, but I did sing.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
That's great. But let me just very quickly move on to Sir Samson over here. Now, sir, well, I still remember I used to study in Barrier College, and we used to have a music teacher as well. And whenever I used to go to the music room, the only problem was that our music teacher used to play his grand piano, and we were never allowed to touch it. So, making sure that we never learned music. So, I'm sorry that I had to say that, but it's in all honesty. So, do you let your children play with all the instruments you use?
For me, I never stopped child to touch the piano.
Okay.
I really like if they want to play the piano, they want to touch the piano.
How important,
them.
as a music teacher, how important do you think it is for kids to learn music these days?
Music is very important, and kids enjoy the music with the lyrics.
Yeah.
And if they sing the songs and music is not here, they don't they don't feel happy.
Yeah.
And
It's not
So
that
that's why-
fun to. Yeah.
Exactly, that's right. But now I think that, if we have a music teacher in a school, I think that the sole responsibility of the music teacher is to teach music,
Yes.
right? And unfortunately, I haven't ever seen a kid coming out of school and saying, oh, these are the notes I've learned today, Mama, and I'm going to share them with you on my piano. So I think all we used to do was just probably sing nagme and all of that, and that's it. And don't you think that it's your responsibility to teach instruments to those kids so that they could know
Yes.
about their scales and their vocals and their capabilities?
Yes, I start teaching the students of my students
Yeah.
in G10 3 Nursery Branch, the city school.
Okay.
I teach them sargams
Wow.
and
Okay, what are the sargams? Let's do that. So let's
Yeah,
teach
let's-
people today.
Teach us the
Yeah.
basics.
Sare gama pada nisa. Let's do it. So we have a teacher to ourselves today, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to take advantage.
this is the basic sargam.
Yeah.
7 notes. Sa re ga ma pa da ni sa. 7 सुरों का sargam.
Okay, now here's the challenge.
Wow.
So you're going to play one of the sargam, and she's just going to let you know which one is it, whether is
Oh,
it sa
how would I
or
even
re.
know?
See, that's what I'm telling.
Okay.
That's why I told him to play those sargams.
Yeah.
Because even now we do not understand which sargam was it.
I wouldn't. Yeah.
So okay, you play
let's
what?
try.
I'm going to try.
Okay.
Well, sa re ga ma pa da ni sa. Whichever is ni or sa probably.
Yes, it's a,
Yeah,
Wow.
I got it. What about you?
You're right.
I
Go ahead.
didn't know.
Go ahead.
Okay, okay.
Da or pa probably.
The last one.
it's pa.
Pa, it's pa.
Okay.
Okay, but now let me come back to Maheen over here. Since
Yes,
Maheen,
yes.
ladies and gentlemen, is a great writer herself. So Maheen, you write poems too as well.
Yeah, in my free time.
Okay, so would you mind sharing one of them with us?
Well, I remember one I wrote for my mother. It was Mother's Day, and of
Yeah.
course I forgot.
Uh-huh.
So while the programs were on TV and my mom was watching them, I went to my room and I took out my diary. So here's how it goes.
Go ahead.
Mother, your words are like poetry, soothing to the mind, remedy for a broken heart. But mother, poetry is like art, and the most beautiful of art is the least understood.
Wow. That
Wow.
is beautiful.
That's beautiful. That
Dada, what
actually
about
is
you?
really beautiful.
Did you write something for your father? Or your
do you
mother?
sing
Or
them
anybody
songs?
else?
Well,
Because you're in the right age, right? Where people want to write something for
Yeah.
somebody special, right?
I've never had such a good songwriting ability, but how I got together with my family, how they understood my passion for music was I played them their favorite songs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then they were farmaishe, right? Okay,
Yeah.
play this, play that. So, okay, both of you being students,
Yeah.
I want you to talk about how, very comfortably, I want you to
Yeah.
talk about this. Because how important is it to have something like this, like playing music or like probably having a writing class or something that you are actually interested in these school years till college? Because
Just don't join the name class with it, and I think it'll do fine.
Yeah.
No, but for real, I mean, because there are certain subjects that you're bound
Exactly.
to study and you don't want to. So how important do you think it is for the mind to feel
Because
refreshed?
when everyone tells us how important it is to keep up with our regular subjects, science,
Right.
math, all of that, yes, it is important, but we also need something to cope with the stress of our
Yeah.
exams.
Absolutely.
And we need these forms of art, these skills, we need to polish them because we don't realize right now how useful they're going to be in the future for us.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think
Because-
Rahat Fateh Ali Khan and Atif Aslam are those
Exactly.
examples over in Pakistan where you can probably earn like 8 million or a crore rupees in a day's time. So for all those parents who are thinking that artists, what are they going to do? I'm telling you that they're richer than a lot of doctors over here in Pakistan, or engineers too as well. But I think at the same time, what you need to realize is that they're at the optimum level of their skill. That's where you need to be.
So you need to
be
polish
that
their
good.
skills
Yeah.
as
So
well.
we need to polish our
Because
skills.
when we have a music class in school, mostly it's limited to 3rd grade.
Okay.
And we don't get to learn instruments. I mean, as a student, I'm gonna speak very frankly on this. As a student, now we're not taught the significance of music in
Yes.
our life. It's mostly just this kind of formality.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's not how we should see it. We should see it as a form of expression. We should see it as a form of art.
Beautiful.
It gives essence to our life.
Wow.
And that's what
Exactly,
makes
and
it
you know,
important.
The only music classes that I do remember in my school were where we were taught rhymes, Yankee Doodle, just because when there was a parent-teacher meeting, then you had to like be a part of the choir and stand in the corner.
Because
and
people
sing.
back then, I
Yeah.
think, just wanted their kids to speak English. That's it. And Baba Black Sheep was too much in English. I think that is still very close to my heart as well. So for all those people who are out there, and for all those people who are actually the think tanks behind the schooling system, please make sure that you teach our kids something very extraordinary as well, other than reading books or just learning them by heart. This is one thing I wanted very badly for my daughter too as well. But right now, towards the end, so what we're going to do is that you have actually prepared a song for all of us.
Yes, sir.
So before we start doing that, if there's any one last message you want to give to all those people who belong to the same generation as you and me, please go ahead.
Well,
Tell them to pursue their dreams
yeah.
like you want.
I mean, you have to pursue their dreams, but young people aren't that afraid to pursue their dreams. It's what holds them down.
Right.
It's their parents or other factors.
Which is true, the society. Yes.
Yeah,
The
I mean,
society, yes.
dude,
The
we are not
society.
talking about love marriage, okay? There can be other
Well,
subjects.
No, actually, when it comes to anything that's like apart from education,
Yeah.
at this age, at the prime age, when we're in high school, people look down on us.
Yeah.
I mean, my brother, he's big in music. He's big in music right now. But every time I saw someone put him down, it actually hurt my feelings as well.
They wouldn't
And
take you seriously because
Exactly.
you're young.
And so, I mean, I'd see him as a role model when it comes to pursue your dreams.
Yeah.
Because no matter how much he's been put down, he worked relentlessly.
Yeah, I can relate to that because 33% of your parents' salary is actually going into your education and your needs as
Yeah.
well. So the look you're going to get from that 33% is like this. Okay, steady. So
True.
people do write to us on our Facebook fan page, which is with the name of
Well this morning.
on Twitter,
Well this morning without a G.
on Daily Motion is YouTube,
Well this morning, well
and
this
this
morning.
fabulous is going to be at.
11:05 in the night.
So please,
Yes.
to Samson from
I
City
want
School.
to say something.
Sure.
That music always help me when I don't find suitable words to express my feeling to
Yeah.
others. Then music always help me.
And this is what we are telling you, that it should actually help your students too as well.
Yes.
Okay, let's do that.
One of my favorite song and my head's favorite song,
Okay.
Moj Pade Ya Aandi, our national song,
Okay, let's do it.
by Shanaz Begum. मोच पड़े आंधी आए, मोच पड़े आंधी आए, दिया जलाए रखना है, दिया जलाए रखना है, घर की खातिर सो दुख झेलें, घर तो आखिर अपना है, घर तो आखिर अपना है। मोच पड़े आंधी आए, दिया जलाए रखना है, घर की खातिर सो दुख झेलें, घर तो आखिर अपना है, घर तो आखिर अपना है। मोच पड़े या आंधी आए, बाल बखेरे उतरी बरखा, रूप लुटाता चाँद, रूप लुटाता चाँद। या पल भर धो उठी आंधी, तारे पड़ गए माँ, तारे पड़ गए माँ। रात कठिन या दिन हो बोझल, रात कठिन या दिन हो बोझल, हंसते गाते चलना है। घर की खातिर सो दुख झेले, घर तो आखिर अपना है, घर तो आखिर अपना है। मोच पड़े या